So, Bhai, what are the common red flags do you see that local VCs raise during their due diligence process, especially in Bangladesh? Because there was this famous e-commerce company that raised a lot of money, gave massive amount of discounts. I'm sure you're aware of the company that I'm talking about. But again, during the due diligence process, it was not really flagged. Again, what are these red flags that you should pick up early on as an investor?
I mean, if you're talking about eValley,
Yes.
I mean, I don't think they had credible investors. It was mostly a Ponzi scheme, right? I mean, they literally booked the founder in their office. I don't think they had credible investors in
So, in terms of red flags during the due diligence process,
Yeah, I mean, if you look at not just token investors, even investors, because we have done a lot of due diligence, right? We have done close to 80 deals in the last 4 years in the startup space for different investors, for our own fund, catalytic fund that we manage with the investors, Switzerland, and our own investments as well. The first thing is obviously we look at the legal structures, right? I mean, is the company properly incorporated? Have they paid their taxes, VATs? Are they doing transactions through banks? I mean, if they're doing through cash, it's a big no, right? The second, we do ask around a lot about the company. We kind of do like a investor sentiment check, other founder sentiment check. We want to talk about the companies as well. We look at even things like salaries. If the founder is supposedly drawing $10,000 in salary, it's like a red flag for me. I mean, then most of investment money is going to be paid to the founders. But I've seen good founders have this amount because they have stock options. They have they have equity in the company, so the company does well. They have a huge upside, right? But if they're just drawing a huge amount of salary, I think that's also a red flag for us, right?
Alright, everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Anwar Ishbat Presents How to Start a Startup featuring BU EDF. On today's episode, we would talk about funding and finance, bootstrapping, raising capital, and financial management.
And to do that, we have none other than Mr. Bijan Islam, who is the co-founder and CEO of Lightcastle Partners. Hello, sir. We're very excited to have you, and we're very excited to learn a lot of things from you today.
No, thank you for having me. And please call me Bijan Bhai also.
Okay, Bhaiya. I just got back from a class, so that's why. So the first thing, Bhaiya, I want to know is about your academic foundation. You did your bachelor's and master's, I believe, at University of Dhaka, IBA, and you picked finance. So could you tell us why did you pick finance?
I mean, the process to take finance was not very complex. So when I did my undergrad at IBA under University of Dhaka, I think what most as students were looking for, what is the mix that will give you the largest chance of getting a job in the job market, right? And there, I think finance with a marketing minor gives you the largest option because then you can join financial institutions, but you can also join marketing for, say, FMCG companies or consumer goods companies. So I think that gave you the largest chance. And I also liked finance. I mean, it's more driven, KPI driven. You understand it's more objective. And I enjoyed learning about, say, portfolio management, corporate finance. So I think, yeah, the demand in the market giving you the largest options. And of course, I enjoyed studying finance kind of drove me to choose finance as a major.
All right, sir. So follow up to that is, again, you based your decision partly because of the demand during that time. In 2025, would you pick finance as a major if you had to?
I mean, it really depends on what available measures are there. Like from when we studied, there was essentially you can either measure in finance or marketing, right? And then there were some subjects that were offered only for, I would say, as a minor, something that it couldn't measure in. So these are topics like HR, business economics. Yeah, that's about it. If in 2025, I don't think IBA has I cannot comment on other universities, but sometimes I visit IBA as a visiting kind of lecturer or faculty. I mean, I don't think they have elaborated on the major subjects yet. But if I had option, possibly I would definitely like a topic like business economics. And maybe if there are things like data analytics, I would take them as a minor. But if those options are not there, possibly I'll stick with finance. Yeah.
So, sir, I think one thing that I saw about your company is that you guys are very, very data driven. Could you explain sort of where that philosophy comes from?
Yeah, I mean, what we understood, and we are, management consulting company. We work with some of the world's largest development partners. We also work with a lot of very credible private sector organizations, some of the world's largest as well. I think a lot of the time we trust our intuitions to take decisions, and which is good, and which might work if we have decades of experience on the field. But I think as things are more evolving, the world is becoming more and more fast paced, technology disruptions are more and more frequent, right? The way we are doing things are changing. I think our decisions are better done by trusting the data and evidence. That's why we believe that everything decisions that you take as a business or as an organization or as an economy should be evidence backed, not just something because someone else is doing, or not just something that you just your intuition is telling. You just validate that. So that's why we believe everything has to be data driven, and that's kind of like our philosophy with the business. And we also want to have democratize data for the market as well. So a lot of the data in Bangladesh market is opaque, or we have tried to make some of it available for everyone, and we want to also democratize data for everyone in the market.
Sure. Again, just on that note, because whenever I look at data, one of the problems that I face is the transparency of it. I don't know if certain numbers are actually true or they're just window dressed in a way to make it more marketing oriented. So, how do you distinguish that? Especially if I want to start a business, let's say if I look at something like the phone adoption rate, the number is extremely high. But if you look at this actual smartphone adoption rate, it's lower. If you look at the age demographic in that range, it's very low. It's a very different target audience. So just because there is a high amount of phone adoption rate doesn't necessarily mean that I could start a business that would cater to that. So how do you like sort of understand like, okay, this data, I should differentiate it in this way, and this one, maybe I need to look more into it. So what's the process?
I think if you're thinking from like a data analysis perspective and the authenticity of the data, if you look at it, I think it's important to understand that data itself as a topic is layered, right? And maybe let us explain this with an example. Say a number of internet users in Bangladesh. Now, if you take data from say BDRs, there are like a lot of internet users. But then we need to understand what is the definition of the data usage. If a person even using 1 megabyte of data in 3 months, if they're considered as an active user, of course they are using the internet, but it's not meaningful usage, right?
Exactly.
So this is where I think data definition, standardization, and data triangulation come in. But what does this kind of things? So when I'm defining data, actually figuring out what definition makes sense. For example, if you want to start internet business, your definition of data usage would possibly something average daily use of data has to be at least say 250 megabyte, right? So you are defining that I will only consider someone to be an active internet user if they're using minimum of 250 megabyte every day. So that is a different definition from what say someone else is using. So you define what is the data means to you. Second, you standardize it, right? Okay, if this is what it is, so that not only you but other internet business, they would also look at the same way, then the data collection becomes easier. And the third most important part is data triangulation. What it means is you take the data from different sources. So you have, of course, BTRC giving you a data, but you can also take the data from the telcos. Say if you say hypothetically take data from Grameenphone on their internet usage, and if Grameenphone has 60% share, you can project the market with that data. You can take data from other credible agencies like say GSMA who releases or Findex, right? These are reports that are being released on internet usage. So take data from different sources, you triangulate them, overlay with their definition, and then try to come up with an actual data. And maybe then we figure out, and these are just a hypothetical figure, no relation to actual numbers, so don't hold me to it. But if, say, the official stat is 120 million people are internet users, but maybe by your definition, the number is only, say, 40 to 50 million people who use smartphones and use internet meaningfully. So by defining your definition, standardizing it, and then triangulating it, you kind of go to the data that you actually need. So the next question is your early career at Citibank. Before we get to that, as students, what did you do like in the business realm? Could you tell us were there business competitions that you participated? Or like ECAs when I were
Yeah.
a student. I think I got into debating on my third year, so which was very, very interesting. We did the Asians. We were one of the top 20 teams.
Okay.
I represented IB at Dhaka University in different debating competitions, including the Asians. So which was good. I think beside that, I attended a variety of competitions. Most notable was we were one of the runners-up for a business competition that took place in Said Business School, University of Oxford.
Okay.
So we did win a bit of seed money to start that business. Unfortunately, we didn't start the business. We used the money to just buy things, which was unfortunate. But I mean, we were students, right? We didn't really have. Besides that, I worked part-time in different companies. One was I was a batch coordinator at Mentors, which taught IB admission fees. I mean, I like teaching students, and then it also brought in decent money as a student that allowed us to pay our semester fees and things like that. And I also did part-time consulting with different organizations. I worked for an interesting company called Management Consulting Group, MCG, kind of like play on BCG. They kind of use that. So we worked for different companies like DHL and other companies through that group.
And this was when you were a student?
Yeah, this was when I was a student. Yes.
So to all the students that are watching, I think the most common job for us is to teach.
Yeah.
But there are other jobs like consulting. How do you get those jobs?
I mean, this is a very interesting question. I mean, and people tell that to me, that how do I build a network, right? How do I reach out to someone? How do I get into work, right? I think it's more easier than people think. And what it requires are two things. One is thinking, and one is putting effort into it. What do I mean by that? I mean, because we have LinkedIn, I mean, do you know Barack Obama?
Yes. I mean,
do you say, I mean, not personally, but do you know him, right?
Yes, as a figure.
Now, if I ask you to get in touch with Barack Obama, can you find someone who knows Barack Obama?
Yeah, probably I have to look into his network on LinkedIn.
But possibly you can.
Yes.
Or at least you can find someone who knows Barack Obama.
Probably.
Right? So it's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can get in touch with someone like Barack Obama by 1 or 2 degrees of separation, I mean, if you're thinking of where to look for a job and everything, in today's world, it's not a problem. You keep your eye out, see what different opportunities are there. You have LinkedIn, reach out, get warm intros and figure out. And that's how we got in, right? I looked at our university alum network. We saw who is there, and I picked out, I want to do part-time work. Is anyone interested? And we got a lot of options, right? So I don't think if you want to do something, it's tough, but we have to think how exactly and who to what reach out, and we have to put effort into it. So which I understand gets difficult because you have grades, you have quizzes, you have assignments, and put extra effort to do this often is difficult. But I mean, getting something is easier than people think. Yeah.
All right. So reach out to an alumnus. That's your advice.
And use LinkedIn.
Okay.
I mean, the whole world is there.
Okay. Sure. So one of the criticism I have of LinkedIn is, I don't know, whenever I go on that app, I just get depressed personally because I see everyone's doing so many wonderful things. And then there's me who's still studying, who cannot finish my undergrad yet. So how do you sort of advise, especially people my age, to use those sort of platforms where you can actually see the competition and you sort of start comparing yourself, which again is not healthy, but it's so easy to do. I think we all do that to some extent.
I mean, I think maybe it takes a bit of experience, but I think two important things to understand is while it's important to understand what else you're doing, at the end of the day, you have to compete with yourself. You just have to get better the next day. Right? I mean, that's the first important rule, right? Otherwise it's a rabbit hole. I mean, there will always be someone better. It's just tough, right? So you first of all decide, okay, I need to be better than what I was yesterday. So that's the first kind of look at. And so can you look at LinkedIn? I mean, it's just a tool. You have to use it effectively, right? So through LinkedIn, if you understand, okay, this person is doing something interesting, and if there is a common network, you ask for a warm intro so they introduce you, and have a conversation. There is no problem in saying hi to a different person, right? I think I have had some very strange experiences. For example, I was flying, there was someone beside me, I said hi, and then I got to learn a lot from that particular person. So I think we often underscore that. So when you're in social media, instead of trying to either showcase yourself or get depressed with showcasing what others are showcasing. Understand that you are in competition with yourself. You need to get better, and cut out the noise. Figure out who do you want to connect with. You don't have to connect with everyone, right? Maybe there's someone you respect. Maybe there is someone you just reach out, see what they say, if they give a time, and if you can get a warm intro. So I think cutting through the clutter is more important because there's a lot of noise out there.
Yes.
And I think that is the most important thing. Just like in this room, we are soundproofing, cutting us out from all the noise outside. It's the same thing when you are on social media. Cut out the noise. Just do what you need to do.
Sure. Is there any hack to LinkedIn? Like, how could you more effectively use LinkedIn as a student?
I think everything is more common sense than we think. And I'm sure definitely there are definitely a lot of YouTube videos on this. But make your profile professional. Explain. Don't do things like, okay, I am this ninja or I am this. Like, don't do buzzwords. Effectively say what your experience is, making sure all your experiences are documented. Give a nice profile photo that is professional, right? Write articles. I don't know why don't more people do that. You actually have a post writing option on LinkedIn that's very, very effective, right? Just write articles, write your thoughts, right? People read thoughts, right? Most people who matter like to read a lot, right? So write your thoughts out there in a coherent ones in an article. Make sure, if you're making a nice slide deck, university assignment, put that out in LinkedIn. So build your profile over time, right? Don't think of it as a hack. Think of it as a digital land that you're building for yourself. Just like you can buy a land, right, and put your name there. It's like a digital presence, so that whenever someone is searching you on Google, they come to your LinkedIn profile, and that's well documented with activities and everything, right? The first thing when someone gives me a CV for hire, right, I looked at the LinkedIn profile. And if I see the LinkedIn profile is not up to the mark, I don't proceed with the discussion. Because someone who has not given the effort to build a good LinkedIn profile possibly isn't someone who would do well in consulting. As simple as that.
I see. I think I need to build my LinkedIn profile right
All
after
of us
this.
do. I mean,
Yes.
not just you.
So sure. After IBA, you worked for Citi for over 3 years. Could you share your experience there? How sort of that really shaped you into founding your company?
Yeah. So I mean, typically what happens is after IBA, I mean, obviously wanted to work in a financial institution. Got into Citibank Canada, worked close to 4.5 years there. I started as a management associate. That means we rotated different departments. So I worked in the investment banking wing. I worked in treasury, right? I worked in corporate banking. I worked in transaction services, and I got placed and eventually became the lead in business planning and analysis unit.
Sir, this rotation, how often do they happen?
So I think I rotated for 1.5 years. Then you get promoted and placed, right? But I loved the experience. I mean, it was long hours, but I learned a lot. I think I'm still in touch with my mentors. In fact, one of my mentors was Akhir Bhai, who is a director now at Citi Bangladesh, Citibank Canada Bangladesh. I had lunch with him and his family like a week back. Still in touch. I really learned a lot from different seniors and everyone out there. We used to work long hours. We used to kind of share kind of like a bond through that. We had complex transaction. I was part of the Grameenphone transaction that took place. I was part of different bonds. So I started selling bonds. I did the first equity convertible bond in the Bangladesh market. We implemented a new transfer pricing policy. There are a lot of new deals that happened in my tenure at Citi. So I really love the experience there. And I think definitely the way we have built our company, Citi definitely has a lot of influence on that. For example, all our emails are like, from my email is like bijan.islam@this.com, right?
Yeah.
It's the exact model what Citi uses, right? So even how the logo is shaped, how our business cards are designed, I think definitely Citi has influenced a lot of what we do.
I see. So, sir, if I had a job like that, I probably would not start my own company. What basically was your point in life where you're like, okay, now I think I should start my own company?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot. I mean, the answer is more simple than I think. So one part of the decision is emotion, and the one part of the decision is logical. So let's pick the emotional decision first. What people don't realize is that the biggest decisions in life you often take based on emotion, right? For example, where do you study? Often it's emotional. Okay, I want to become a doctor or engineer, right? For example, I started studying at university. I was actually studied at IUT, but then I left and joined, IBA. But a lot of that was more emotional than logical, right? So I think for us, the emotional component was I watched this movie called Three Idiots, and there was a very interesting line that kind of American says that if you're 70 and lying in a hospital bed, you won't regret the things that you did. You will regret the things that you didn't do. And I felt that if you didn't do a business at that point in time, I'm definitely going to regret it, right? So that's kind of the emotional part of it, right? I want to do something, that has more enduring legacy than being like a job. The logical part is, which is more interesting. People think entrepreneurship is very risky, but it's more often than not. So I have worked at City for a few years. I have a bit of money saved up, right? So it's not like I'm starting from zero. I was living with my parents, so it's not that I have to worry about food or living expenses, right? Even if I did, I had some money saved up, right? And then when I told my bosses this, they said, okay, go on a leave, get your head clear. And they gave me a significant amount of leave days, right? And then I also joined MBA at IBA for 2 years, right? Now think about it. If it didn't work out, I would have finished my MBA during that time, right? And as you know, you're all students, but I mean, business studies or MBA, these are not as intense as engineering. You mostly MCQs and assignments. It's not that complex of a load, right? Like engineering degree. So I knew that MBA, and since I've studied BBA at IBA as well, a lot of the same teachers, it wouldn't be that difficult a load, right? So even if everything failed, I would essentially have an MBA degree and I go back to a job, and possibly I would be paid more because I have tried something and failed, but because that experience is more valuable to companies. If someone comes and tells me they have tried something and failed, I would actually pay them more money because they have that initiative and they can do things, right? So essentially, entrepreneurship is not as risky as you think, because the kind of networks you would build in a business would obviously mean you can just do another job. So the logical part was, even if I fail in 2 years, I'll just go back, maybe do the same job that I left, right? And with a better salary and a higher thing, right? And if I couldn't do that, I figured, I don't even deserve it. If I can build a network in 2 years to make sure I can get a job. So the emotional part is there. I don't want to regret this. And the riskiness is not as much as you think it is. Got me started.
So that sort of your advice would be, first get a job, get some experience, have a network, and then go and build your business.
That worked for me.
That worked for you.
And there are a lot of nuances to it. For example, I did it with my business school batchmates, Ifzat, Saif, and Zahid, right? Started, they were with my IBA and everything. So I had the right co-founders, right? Which was like a big thing for me. But that worked for me doesn't necessarily mean it will work for everyone. It really depends on you. At the end of the day, you have to do something that you're passionate about. You have to do something that you're good at. You have to be good at it, right? So I don't believe I was ready when I left IBA to do consulting because I did not understand any of it that well. Third, you have to make money out of it. And fourth, of course, this also has to create positive impact. Now, if you don't have, say, for example, I decided I'll become a rock star. Now, I'm very passionate about it. I love listening to rock, metal, different kind of songs, right? And possibly does the world a lot of good because people listen to rock songs. But I'm not good at it. So I can't make money out of it. I can't even sing, right? So ultimately, it's not a good fit. So it depends on the individual. If you are good at all four, I don't see no reason to wait. But if you think you need experience, you need to figure out to become good at something, build expertise, I think starting at a job gives you a lot of understanding how businesses work, how you should structure it, even simple things, how the governance should work, how the taxation system works, how businesses are organized, how many departments are there. So it gives a lot of knowledge that will come in very handy when you build a business.
Right, sir. So in terms of the Bangladesh funding landscape, how do you define angel investment in the context of Bangladesh? Like, how is it different from global standard, or is it the same?
First of all, what we need to understand when we're doing angel investing, because this is almost like personal investments, there are a lot of different personal philosophies, right? So think of a lot of colors in the spectrum. So there are many colors in the spectrum. There are many types of investors, right? What I can say is possibly what I would personally look for when you're investing. We have invested in early stage companies. One of the more known companies in our portfolio is 10 Med School, but there are a few others as well. So what typically we look for is five things, right? The first thing in early stage investing is on the team, because I mean there are ideas everywhere. Whether the team has the ability to execute, right? Yeah, if the team is there who can solve things, right? So that's the first thing we look at, and that's like one of the most critical factors in the decision. The second thing most investors would look at is whether they are actually solving a problem that is a large market, right? I mean, if it's a problem that's high frequency, repeatable, consumers face every day, I mean, that's good. For example, transportation that Patao is solving is a problem everyone faces at least 2 times daily and every day, right? So it's not a problem that they're facing once a year, right? So this is so there the problem is big and the market is big, right? Third thing we look at is the actual solution, right? Have they actually built some sort of solution around it? Is it a prototype? Are people using it? It doesn't actually have to be an app. It can be a WhatsApp group, right? Where people are sharing, okay, can I give you a ride, right? So we just see that if they have done a solution and whether there's kind of like a product market fit, we see early tractions, things like that as well, right? The fourth thing that we can kind of look at is an extension of the product market fit. Is this market, what is the general direction of this particular market, right? Is it going to grow? Does it make sense? Is it big enough for the company to grow into? Is it like multi-country market or a single country market? What it's kind of look at, right? And the last thing we look at is finances, right? Whether, I mean, the finances that are saying that make sense, if the amount of money they're raising would make sense in this particular market. For example, if nowadays you want to build a ride-sharing, say, platform, you would need a lot of capital because, I mean, there are established players there. And possibly for early-stage investors, that doesn't make sense. You would possibly want to enter in a market which doesn't need that much capital or it's still untapped, right? So yeah, so team, the problem that you're solving, is it frequent, high frequency? The solution that I've built with the traction that you've generated, how big is the market, and the finances. Besides these 5 factors, we as a company or individual, I also look for companies that create impact. That means they're genuinely creating measurable, manageable impact in the lives of people because, we also have impact as one of the goals of our organizations as investing. So those are pretty much kind of like the factors we or most of investors look at.
Sure. So again, let's say I do all of those 5 things and let's say I create impact. In Bangladesh, where would you advise founders to get connected with angel investors? What's the network? I know Bangladesh Angel Investing Network, there's one, but is there more similar programs like that?
I mean, what I would actively suggest founders is definitely to attend events where a lot of this, I also have an interesting series on this that I often give early stage entrepreneurs, right? People often think of network in a too complex way. One of the best books you can read on this topic is Never Eat Alone, right? So read that book that kind of explains everything out, right? So it starts with going into high networking events like the Startup Connect that just happened or startup events that happened, right? That give you access to a lot of this investor network. You can join good incubator accelerator programs that also have connect to these companies as well. You can obviously go to angel syndicates like BAN is there. There is Bideshi Invest that also gets run by Anchorless. But more importantly, you have to actively build your own database and network. So we can kind of say building your investor hit list, right? And you have to know about them. For example, if you're approaching Lightcastle, you should look at, okay, what Lightcastle has done, what are some of the companies we have worked at. Most of our portfolio companies, the details are actually on our website, right? And whether you are a fit, right? So studying up on the investors, figuring out what they're investing, asking other founders, right? So do your own research, build your own investor hit list, get warm interest, get someone who knows that investor to put you in touch and take it from there. Is it a lot of hard work? Yes. Think of it, if you want to build a good physique, you have to go to the gym, you have to run, you have to eat healthy. You put in a lot of effort to do it, right? If you want to get a good grade, you have to do the same. You have to do an assignments, you have to do group work. Same thing. If you want to raise high quality capital, you have to do the hard work. And more often than not, I don't think early stage founders do that. And it's not that difficult with our LinkedIn, with everything, with a lot of WhatsApp groups that are out there for founders, social media groups, a lot of the information that is public. It's not that hard. I mean, Lightcast literally release investor quarterly reports. So the name of the investors who are investing are public, right? It's not hard, right? But it takes a bit of effort to shift through all the data and make your own investor hit list. So that is what all founders should do. Do an investor hit list and have a proper fundraising strategy.
All right, sir. So when do you think a company is ready to raise venture capital fund? Like at what stage would you say, okay, now you should go and raise some VC money?
That's a good question. So ideally, venture capital firms should come in a way where you have some revenue, you have product market fit, you have possibly good early investors, right? Maybe angels. And the money will help you grow. So what do I mean by that? For example, if you have, say, $100,000 to $200,000 in revenue, early traction, and you know if you raise maybe $500,000, you can convert that traction to maybe 3-4 million or 2 million, 2.5 million, right? You know that there is a path to kind of product market fit, path to attaining more customers. So you're taking the money because you have some level of product market fit, and you can grow the company to a stage where you can again raise the next round. And the venture capital money should help you survive anything between 18 to 24 months, right? A couple of years of runway, right? So once you have that, it's good. There are VCs that do invest in earlier stages. For example, Accelerating Asia, which is also accelerator, also puts in money, who does more earlier stage, but even then you have to have a product and traction, right? So if you don't have product and traction, you shouldn't go to institutional investors, right? Of course, you can take money. There are investors, and depending on the sectors as well. For example, biotech would possibly have more early stage investors or artificial intelligence. But if you're in a sector, or most sectors would require some bit of customer validation before you go and raise venture capital. And then one thing founders often forget, and that raising venture capital from is also a liability, because it's not free money. You have to give that money back or create return for the investor at a certain point in time. So if you're raising money, of course you can fail. I mean, that's there. But you should assume when you're starting a business that you have to figure out a product market fit and exit pathway for your investors as well, right? And if you can't do that, I mean, possibly you are not ready to raise venture capital money. It's not that you have an exact pathway to exit, but you know that with that money, if I'm at X, I can get to Y. Unless you have that roadmap, I mean, getting venture capital money or absorbing is possibly not the best idea.
So on that question, I think, again, I might be wrong here. The VCs in Bangladesh, they tend to have a very short horizon. If you compare that with countries like Singapore or even the Western countries, the VCs invest in a fund, and within 2-3 years they want to get a return. Do you think, especially when you're trying to grow, is that like a right strategy to do?
I mean, it depends. Again, this is where the high quality capital comes in. So first of all, founders should realize that whether you raise the next round or not, your cap table has a very strong say in that. I'll give an example. So Bikash has been phenomenally successful, but if you look at their cap table, Gates Foundation, Bragg Bank, and financials, and then SoftBank. I mean, these are like the best of the best. Look at ShopUp's cap table. I mean, from Tiger Global to Valor. Valor is actually Peter Thiel's investment company. Peter Thiel are early investors in companies like Twitter. He was from PayPal, right? Think of companies who have invested in Facebook, and Twitter is investing in ShopUp, right? Sanabil is the sovereign fund investment arm of PIF from the Middle East, right? That's big, right? And then their cap table is again the best, right? Look at even Chico, right? In the education tech. I mean, Learn Capital, Anchorless. So I think Wavemaker. So I think cap table is very important, right? That would allow you to next. So you have to go after high quality capital, right? Now, that doesn't mean you cannot do high quality local capital. The VCs in Bangladesh are again very early stage, but we also have to understand their fund mandates as well. For example, the investors that are out there, like say ITLC, who is deploying their fund, but they also have a particular tenor of the fund. I think it's 7 or 9 years. I don't know. So they have to give investors the money back. So for them, possibly they will invest in companies that are a bit later in this stage, so they can maybe get the money back in 3, 4, whatever years, right? Because their fund tenor is smaller. Someone like Anchorless, the one that Rabbi runs, has a larger fund tenor, and maybe they can go in a bit earlier because they're willing to hold their money a bit longer, right? But having said that, I think there are not enough venture capital firms in the market. We need funds with more longer tenors. And if you're raising money locally, have a very transparent communication with the investor that this is the kind of runway you're thinking you're going to need to possibly exit, right? But at the end of the day, I think you have to also understand from the VC's perspective, it's other people's money, other people's business. If they don't generate return with a certain amount of time, I mean, they would be liable to their investors as well, right? But having said that, I think early stage investors are coming. Anchorless, which is again registered in the US SEC. I mean, they're again a very Bangladesh-focused fund. There are funds like South Asia Tech that Nazar Bhai runs. There are funds like the Sovereign Fund, Startup Bangladesh Limited, which possibly has a bit longer time horizon compared to private funds. They're hopefully launching a fund of fund as well, if that goes kind of well. There are funds like ITLC. And again, there are large corporates who have started investing. For example, BSRM also invested recently in Sheva, right? So that was also good. Local corporates who possibly can hold the asset for a longer time and see strategic synergies are also coming. So I think it's a very early ecosystem. I think out of the 1 billion that has invested in Bangladesh over the last 10 years, 92% has been global funds. But we have seen 7-8% local funds coming in. I think it's going to grow in the near future as more venture capital firms come in.
So, Bhai, what are the common red flags do you see that local VCs raise during their due diligence process, especially in Bangladesh? Because there was this famous e-commerce company that raised a lot of money, gave massive amount of discounts. I'm sure you're aware of the company that I'm talking about. But again, during the due diligence process, it was not really flagged. Again, what are these red flags that you should pick up early on as an investor? Or as a VC?
I mean, if you're talking about eValley,
yes.
I mean, I don't think they had credible investors. I mean, it was mostly a Ponzi scheme, right? I mean, they literally a book they found in their office. I don't think they had credible investors who invested.
So in terms of red flags during the due diligence process?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at not just local investors, even investors, because we have done a lot of due diligence, right? So we have done close to 80 deals in the last 4 years in the startup space for different investors, for our own fund, catalytic fund that we manage with the Embassy of Switzerland, and our own investments as well. The first thing is obviously we look at the legal structures, right? I mean, is the company properly incorporated? Have they paid their taxes, VATs? Are they doing transactions through banks? I mean, if they're doing through cash, it's a big no-no, right? The second, we do ask around a lot about the company. We kind of do like a investor sentiment check, other founder sentiment check. We want to talk about the companies as well. We look at even things like salaries. If the founder is supposedly drawing $10,000 in salary, it's like a red flag for me. I mean, then most of the investment money is going to be paid to the founders. But I've seen good founders have decent amount because they have stock options. They have they have equity in the company, so the company does well. They have a huge upside, right? But if they're just drawing a huge amount of salary, I think that's also a red flag for us, right? We want to see whether it's a one-man show or it's a team-oriented, because at the end of the day, we're investing in teams. Not that you cannot invest in single founders, but it has to be a team show. If the CEO keeps talking all the time and the other CFO and the CEO is not responding, I mean, it's definitely a flag. I mean, it's not going to be easy, right? And lastly, we take a lot of customer feedback. What are the customers actually saying? Are they happy with the product? What is their Google rating? What are the comments? We kind of ferret through algorithms, right? What the tech stack looks like. So I think customer, what other people, stakeholders, other founders, investors are saying, whether they're legally solid and everything, and whether the team dynamics are okay. So those are the few of the things that we look at.
So in terms of government grants and programs that I think, especially in the past 10 years or 5 years, there's been a lot of push towards sort of getting young people interested in entrepreneurship. There has been a lot of sort of international finance. You could tell things like World Bank. I think they gave 30 million to UIHP, which is University Innovation Hub program, to sort of build this ecosystem. Do you recommend founders to participate in those programs?
I mean, the experience doesn't definitely hurt. But I think what we forget is it's quality over quantity, right? A good company like ShopUp can create a lot of employment, right? Or Pathao, right? Or a company like Bikash can literally change the financial landscape, right? But what other times all of this early stage funding or development funding often goes to, or the government funding, is very early stage companies who possibly we can say doesn't pass the matrices that I just talked about, like team, problem, product market fit, right, finances, right, market size, right. So then it essentially becomes a lot of capacity building without a lot of upside or capital for the entrepreneur to grow. So I think quality over quantity is important because high quality companies will create a lot of jobs out there. Yes, we need a lot of entrepreneurs, right? But then again, these grant programs have to be structured in a way and also run by people who understand this, right? For example, I know when I look at a lot of the companies, I know that I was even discussing with someone today who pitched a particular idea. I hear like 300 pitches a year, right? And I immediately know, I mean, it's the same idea. A lot of people have done it. There are large players in the market. The market doesn't have enough traction. Even internal quality is too poor for this business to really work, right? It's another pause shopping, small mom and pop outlets converted to shops, right? Converted to digital POS. And I was like, I mean, people have tried to do it. It doesn't really work. And it will require a lot of capital to do it, a lot of, internet company stuff, right? But I know that possibly it's not a good use of that, even that person's time. I mean, possibly they would work in a company or a startup, gain experience, and then launch their own company, right? At a later stage once they have the understanding, right? So I think the quality over quantity is missing. I mean, obviously the programs are great and you can join to get experiences, but I think quality is important. You should support companies that can generate that, right? And if they don't pass the benchmark, because if right now, a lot of the times the benchmark, I'm not saying the World Bank program, but in general, the benchmark is how many people have trained. And then they end up training very early stage students who most of the time would essentially go to jobs anyways, not try out entrepreneurship. So I think that balance is still missing. And I think that's where possibly we need to work a bit more.
Bhaya, in terms of getting the international capital, how should founders sort of approach that in getting the international money?
I mean, there are different ways to do it, but I mean, at the end of the day, you have to build a solid business here. And early on, you get investors who has good international connections to get in with that capital. If you look at ShopUp, I mean, they got into the search program, which they got them into Sequoia, would ultimately get them into Valor, would got them into Tiger Global, and then from Tiger Global, they got into Sanabil, right? Everything, right? And if you look at say other programs like 10MS, right? They again got into search, they got into Sequoia, and then that ultimately led to Conjunction, right? So they kind of have that journey. So getting investors who can crowd in other investors, that's important, because at the end of the day, you need investors who can also champion you and help you raise the next round, especially high quality capital. I think from Shiko, Anchorless was there, and they helped them get connected, I think, to Webmaker, right? And they help other companies like AgroShift to connect to like Shadowhook, right? So, I mean, you need investors who are coming in early on who can crowd in other investors, and of course, you have to hit the metrics, build the business. But your cap table and quality of the capital is important, right? It's not just money; it's high quality capital that you need to get high quality international capital, right? I think that is a lot of the time that founders miss it, right? Capital from different people have different value, right? For example, now that BSM has invested in this particular company called Sheba, I mean, Sheba will have a lot of support because a large corporate has invested. And when Anchorless invested in Shiko got support in helping get the next round, right? When Learn Capital invested in Shiko, that's one of the largest global edtech VCs that are taking to the next round. When Sequoia, now Peak 15 invested in 10 Made School, it also gave them a large leg up, right? So, I mean, your early investors also can help you go and raise. Of course, you have to hit the metrics, the product market fit, those kind of things have to be there. But I think the quality of the cap table is very, very important.
So investor branding matters a lot.
Yes, who is in our cap table matters a lot.
Sure. So, Bhaya, I think you just said that you get like 300 pitches a year or something. Any interesting pitch that you had, the most memorable one, if you could share?
I mean, I get a lot of not so good pitches, but there are some pitches that are really, really good. One of the pitches, I'll not name, I started talking with this company and I said, hey, give me access to your data room. Where do you keep all your data? They gave me access to a dashboard with metadata structures. I was like blown away. And this company was doing close to $1 million in revenue a year. I was like, wow, I have to invest in this particular company, right? I was like, okay, the pitch was good. The founder has at it for quite a long time. They have positive cash flow. 95% revenue is actually prepaid. And they have the data in dashboards and everything. I mean, most of the time when I ask companies for data, I don't hear from them like for 2-3 months, right? They just get lost, right? This company, I asked for the data, they send me a dashboard like in 30 minutes. I was like really blown away. So when you're reaching investors, get your basics ready. I mean, have all the documents that investors ask in a data room, right? Your company documents, your legal documents, your data on your traction. So if these things are structured in a way, investors get a lot of confidence. So I think that was one of the best kind of pitches I was looking at. I mean, at the end of the day, artist investing is like trusting the other person. And I know that this person is very organized. They've kept everything. They're transparent, open. I think that shows volumes that, we like that. And yeah, not so good pitches. I mean, I hear that all the time, unfortunately. People don't have proper pitch decks. People can't communicate well, right? That's like a big gap. As a founder, if I ask you, explain your business to me in 2 sentences, and if you need like 5 slides to do it, I'm lost, right? I mean, what do you exactly do? That's what I would ask. If I'm still asking that, right? I mean, that's not a good thing.
All right, but must have slides in your pitch deck. Absolute must-haves.
Yeah, I mean, these are again common all investors. If you search, you will get a lot of this template that everyone uses. But for me, again, going back to the 5 large ones, right? I want to see that it's a problem that's you're solving. I want to see the solution. I want information on the market. I want very strong information who is backing this, the team, what is your unfair advantage as a team that you can do this? And I want to understand your finances. If finances not in like valuation and stuff, more in like, if you get this much money, this is where you are and this is where you can get to.
As I was saying, I think, again, you can relate to this probably in your early days. Me and my friends, usually after class, we would go to the Donget Dokan. We'll get our cha and we'll discuss about starting a business.
Yeah.
We get super into it. All right, this is our customer. This is our location. We plan everything. Next day, we just forget about it. Were there cases like this in your student years? And how do you keep that motivation, right? All right, we have to build it. We have to keep building it tomorrow, day after tomorrow. We cannot just stop just because we lost the motivation.
I mean, I can definitely relate to it. So, I mean, when Ivdad Zahid and I were at our university days, right? We would talk about doing business a lot. And that didn't happen for almost 4.5, 5 years, right? And Ivdad worked at a Standard Chartered, then he was a director at a Youth Leadership Center. Zayed worked at HSBC, I was at CDNA, right? And then we came together and formed Like Castle, but that took a long detour, right? I think what I learned is it's fine. It's important you're having these discussions, ideas. It's fine if you don't follow up. As long as you are really, you want to do it at some point in time, I mean, you will figure it out, right? Because doing it as a student without experience is often hard, right? You don't have the right kind of experiences and everything. While of course we look at examples that everyone says, okay, Facebook from like a dorm or Harvard, dropout, Bill Gates. Bill Gates was a genius. He started coding at the age of 14.
Yeah,
you can't really compare everyone to Bill Gates. The average age was still 37, and it's fine. You can start early. You can start after you have done a few years in jobs. There is no wrong or right time. The important thing is you have those conversations going, right? Because I think those are very value adding. It builds your critical thinking skills. It builds your communication skills. It builds your teamwork. And then, of course, when the time is right, you will figure it out. Maybe you will do it with someone else, maybe not your friends. I was very lucky to do it with my university batchmates. I'm extremely lucky for that. But I mean, it's fine. We can do it with other people. It's absolutely all right. So don't get disappointed if there's no follow-up. You're in a stage of life where grades are important. Making the next term paper is important. It's fine. You need that, right? But it's also, if it's also fine if you can do something on the side, right? If you can do a food cart, it's absolutely fine, right? So there's no wrong or right. important thing is whether, think of it like this, whether you're spending time in discussing quality things. So if the lowest kind of spending time is if you're discussing other people, okay, who is that person? We call it like bitching, right?
Yeah.
The second is if you're discussing events. Oh, that event was good, that event bad. The best thing is if you're discussing ideas. So if most of your discussion was in the top level, and you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah.
If these 2 are all right, you're going to go places. But if you're not spending time with good people and you're discussing other people all the time, it doesn't really matter. So as long as you have the grammar, the basics right, it's fine. You will get there.
All right. So now moving to a segment which we call term sheets and valuation, a bit technical. So valuation benchmarks. What are the valuation multiples usually early stage businesses should have?
So on a very early stage, typically you shouldn't do a valuation. The most common instrument that you use is a convertible instrument called SEF, which is simple agreement for future equity, where an investor, including us, we have invested through SEF as well, where you give the money. But you say, when you have the next equity round, I will get a certain, say, 20% discount with a valuation cap of this. That the maximum valuation that can happen is this. So say I invest $100,000 and I say I will invest at 20% discount and the valuation cap is $1 million. Say after 2 years, they raise $500,000 at $2 million valuation. But I'll still get a $1 million valuation. If hypothetically the valuation was $800,000, then I get a 20% discount, which is what, $640,000, right? So SAFE is like early stage investing. When you're a bit later stage, when you have tractions and everything, different industries have different matrices. Some industries have, like, if it's a gross merchant value, they have a 1x, 0.8x, or 2x of GMV, depending on how hot in the industry, how many investors that are out there. And then there are things like revenue multiples, some industries as well, maybe 3x, 4x, 5x, 6x, 10x, depending on what industry, what is the company. So it varies a lot between industry to industry, company to company, market to market, right? But typically GMV and revenue multiples are good things to have.
Now, in terms of clauses, term sheet clauses, is there something as founders they should really negotiate on or they should look out for?
I think it's important to understand the clauses, right? Because you shouldn't sign something that you don't understand. Few things you should be careful about is, of course, board seats and voting rights, right? So what is the investments? If someone owns 10% of a company, maybe one board seat is all right. Giving 3 or 4 possibly might not make sense, right? Maybe with 20% you can give out 1 or 2 board seats. And then even if you give board seats, one is voting rights. Is it a board observer seat or actual board seat? If it's an observer, that person will not have voting rights, but they will have information rights and sit in the board meetings. If it's actual board seat, they can actually vote in the board as well, right? Then there are things like call option, put option. If it's an equity investment, is there like a buyback clause? Whether the founder can buy back at certain percentage interest rate, or whether the company can say, okay, if this doesn't work out, I can give a put option that you actually buy back the investor's equity. So buyback, call and put options are important. Things like tag along, drag along, that if the investors is selling equity, they have to take the founders selling equity, they have to take the investors, right? So there are a few kind of right of first refusal. But if you raise next in the round of investment from a different investor, the current investor has the right to match the terms on refuse, and then only you can raise the money, right? Anti-dilution protection, if there is some sort of anti-dilution protection either for the founders or investors, right? So I think these are not difficult terms. You have ChatGPT, you have Investopedia. We have a lot of term sheets, you can take from Like Castles as well. We have different presentations on this topic, YouTube videos, right? So not difficult to learn, but as founders, you definitely need to learn and understand all these terms.
Bhaiya, bootstrapping versus fundraising. When do you think a founder should bootstrap? When do you think they should raise angel fund?
It depends on the founder. If you think you would be more comfortable working at your own pace, building the company, you need the space to build, definitely bootstrapping, right? One of the best examples in the world is Zerodha.
Yes.
It's a bootstrapper for $4-5 billion company. On the other hand, if you understand, you want to grow fast, you understand you have an exact way you can grow the company, you have a good product market fit, go for external funding. But that comes with, of course, while they add value to your business as a network, that also comes in with governance structures and accountability and also matching, right? Your psyches need to match, right? So it really depends on what the founder wants or not. Yeah. For example, Flipkart, I mean, their first business was very venture capital driven. The second business that Sachin, the original CEO, has founded is not so much. He's kind of, again, he is a billionaire, so he can afford to, but he's building at his own pace, right? So it really depends what kind of founder you are. There is no wrong, right way to do this.
And Bhaiya, last question is, let's say you're at my seat. You have to do this, or maybe you want to do this. Where would you start? What would you do differently? Where do you think our generation probably has the highest sort of impact in terms of this startup business ecosystem?
I think one advice possibly I would give everyone, I think people don't do it often, is learn from experiences. And of course, this can happen in podcasts, but I think I'll read a lot of books. I mean, I think somehow we have lost the habit of doing that, me included. But I mean, there is no substitute for reading high quality books. It gives you knowledge at a depth they don't understand. For example, to really understand how the startup, say, happened in India, Big Billion Startup, that's Flipkart Story, is a fantastic book to understand what's happened there. And then you can relate a lot of it back to Bangladesh. If you really want to understand, say, how entrepreneurs have evolved, reading Shoe Dog, Phil Knight's, Nike's founders, memoir is fantastic, right? Unless you read all this, right, or everything is stored that talks about Amazon, right? Which is again good, because then if you can you can read the American side of the story, and Flipkart is the Indian side of the story. But I think reading books is something we don't do often. And if I was in his shoes early on, I'll be definitely happy going back in time. I would have to be honest, read a lot more books than I have. Because that time is one thing. If you don't look like it, you will never get back in life. The time that I have spent here, you are not getting it back. I'm not getting it back. So the time that I left on my teen or university, I'm never getting that back, right? So if I have read more books, I think that would have been more useful. So that is my one suggestion to everyone, especially the newer generation, I think, who I believe watches more videos and stuff. I do as well, but I'm read more books.
Right. Thank you so much, Bhaiya, for that. It was, again, a fantastic experience for us to have you here.
I appreciate
it. Yeah, we learned a lot. Thank you, Bhaiya.
And thanks to Brack University Entrepreneurship Development Forum.
Yes.
Good.
Right.